Hello, listeners, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Storyteller. So, I hope that all of you are doing great and all of you are eager to learn something new. That's why today I am here with our new story. Aladdin Part 8. We have already read the previous parts in our previous videos. So now let's start with our Part 8. But before moving towards it, if you like my voice or like this story, so please do subscribe to our channel. So now let's move towards it. When Aladdin gave these commands to the genie, the sun was set. The next morning at daybreak, the genie presented himself and, having obtained Aladdin's consent, transported him in a moment to the palace he had made. The genie led him through all the apartments where he found officers and slaves, habited according to their rank and the services to which they were appointed. The genie then showed him the treasury, which was opened by a treasurer, where Aladdin saw large vases of different size piled up to the top with money, ranged all around the chamber. The genie thence led him to the stables, where were some of the finest horses in the world, and the grooms busy in dressing them. From thence they went to the storehouses, which were filled with all things necessary, both for food and ornaments. When Aladdin had examined every portion of the palace, and particularly the hall with the 24 windows, and found it far to exceed from fondest expectations, he said, "Genie, there is one thing wanting, a fine carpet for the princess to walk upon from the Sultan's palace to mine. Lay one down immediately." The genie disappeared, and Aladdin saw what he desired executed in an instant. The genie then returned and carried him to his own home. When the Sultan's porters came to open the gates, they were amazed to find what had been an unoccupied garden filled up with a magnificent palace and a splendid carpet extending to it all the way from the Sultan's palace. They told the strange tidings Grand Vizier, who informed the Sultan. "It must be Aladdin's palace," the Sultan exclaimed, "which I gave him leave to build for my daughter. He has wished to surprise us, and let us see what wonders can be done in only one night." Aladdin, on his being conveyed by the genie to his own home, requested his mother to go to Princess Budr al-Budr and tell her that the palace would be ready for her reception in the evening. She went attended by her women slaves in the same order as on the preceding day. Shortly after her arrival at the princess' apartment, the Sultan himself came in and was surprised to find her, whom he knew only as his suppliant at his divan, in humble guise, more richly and sumptuously attired than his own daughter. This gave him a higher opinion of Aladdin, who took such care of his mother and made her share his wealth and honors. Shortly after her departure, Aladdin, mounting his horse and attended by his retinue of magnificent attendants, left his parental home forever and went to the palace in the same pomp as on the day before. Nor did he forget to take with him the wonderful lamp to which he owed all his good fortune, nor to wear the ring which was given him as a talisman. The Sultan entertained Aladdin with the utmost magnificence, and at night, on the conclusion of the marriage ceremonies, the princess took leave of the Sultan, her father. Bands of music led the procession, followed by 100 state users and the like number of black mutes in two files, with their officers at their head. 400 of the Sultan's young pages carried flame backs on each side, which, together with the illuminations of the Sultan's and Aladdin's palace, made it as light as day. In this order, the princess conveyed in her litter and accompanied also by Aladdin's mother, carried in a superb litter and attended by her women slaves, proceeded on the carpet which was spread from the Sultan's palace to that of Aladdin. On her arrival, Aladdin was ready to receive her at the entrance and led her into a large hall, illuminated with an infinite number of wax candles, where a noble feast was served up. The dishes were of massy gold and contained the most delicate viands. The vessels, basins, and goblets were gold also, and of exquisite workmanship, and all the other ornaments and embellishments of the hall were answerable to this display. The princess, dazzled to see so much riches collected in one palace, said to Aladdin, I thought, Prince, that nothing in the world was so beautiful as the Sultan, my father's palace. But the sight of this hall alone is sufficient to show I was mistaken. When the supper was ended, there entered a company of female dancers who performed according to the custom of the country, singing at the same time verses in praise of the bride and bridegroom. About midnight, Aladdin's mother conducted the bride to the nuptial apartment, and he soon after retired. The next morning, the attendants of Aladdin presented themselves to dress him and brought him another habit as rich and magnificent as that worn the day before. He then ordered one of the horses to be got ready, mounted him, and went in the midst of a large troop of slaves to the Sultan's palace and treat him to take a repast in the prince's palace, attended by his grand vizier and all the lords of his court. The Sultan consented with pleasure, rose up immediately, and preceded by the principal officers of his palace and followed by all the great lords of his court, accompanied Aladdin. The nearer the Sultan approached Aladdin's palace, the more he was struck with its beauty. But when he entered it, when he came into the hall and saw the windows enriched with diamonds, rubies, emeralds, all large perfect stones, he was completely surprised and said to his son-in-law, This palace is one of the wonders of the world. For where in all the world besides shall we find walls built of messy gold and silver and diamonds, rubies and emeralds composing the windows? But what most surprises me is that a hall of this magnificence should be left with one of its windows incomplete and unfinished. Sir, answered Aladdin, the omission was by design, since I wished that you should have the glory of finishing this hall. I take your intention kindly, said the Sultan, and will give orders about it immediately. After the Sultan had finished this magnificent entertainment provided for him and for his court by Aladdin, he was informed that the jewelers and goldsmiths attended, upon which he returned to the hall and showed them the window which was unfinished. I sent for you, said he, to fit up this window in as great perfection as the rest. Examine them well and make all the dispatch you can. The jewelers and goldsmiths examined the 23 windows with great attention, and after they had consulted together to know what each could furnish, they returned and presented themselves before the Sultan, whose principal jeweler, undertaking to speak for the rest, said, Sir, we are all willing to exert our utmost care and industry to obey you, but among us all we cannot furnish jewels enough for so great a work. I have more than are necessary, said the Sultan. Come to my palace, and you shall choose what may answer your purpose. When the Sultan returned to his palace, he ordered his jewels to be brought out, and the jewels took a great quantity, particular those Aladdin had made him a present of, which they soon used without making any great advance in their work. In short, they used all the jewels the Sultan had and borrowed of the vizier. But yet the work was not half done. Aladdin, who knew that all the Sultan's endeavors to make this window like the rest were in vain, sent for the jewelers and goldsmiths, and not only commanded them to desist from their work, but ordered them to undo what they had begun, and to carry all their jewels back to the Sultan and to the vizier. They undid in a few hours what they had been 6 weeks about, and retired. Leaving Aladdin alone in the hall, he took the lamp which he carried about him, rubbed it, and presently the genie appeared. Genie, said Aladdin, I ordered the to leave one of the 24 windows in this hall perfect, and thou hast executed my commands exactly. Now I would have thee make it like the rest. Because this story is too long, so rest of the part of this story we will cover in our next part. Till then, stay tuned with us. I hope that all of you like this story, so please do like, share, subscribe and comment on our channel. Thanks for listening and wait for the next part.